Good morning, Abundant Life. This is Pastor Chris. Today we're going to continue our study of John chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. This is Jesus' first miracle. He's at a wedding. They run out of wine. His mother comes to him and says, "Hey, you got to do something." And Jesus basically tells her, "Let me handle this." But our question is, why would Mary assume that Jesus could do a miracle when he had never done any miracles before, and there was no reason for her to assume that? Well, obviously, she understood who Jesus was, right? No, not really. I mean, she remembered the story of, the angel coming to her saying, "You're going to have a baby." She remembered the shepherds coming, the wise men. She remembered all that. She knew this kid was special. But did she understand truly what he was? Later in his ministry, she wanted to have him put away because she thought he'd gone insane. Why did she think that? Because he was running around healing people. So, no, Mary didn't fully grasp or understand exactly who her son was. Okay, then was it even a miracle that she was asking for? It could have been just a case where it was this proud mom and assuming that her son could take care of this problem, even if she has no idea how he possibly could. This probably was just belief in her son and committing him without asking him, like mothers love to do. She didn't want this poor couple humiliated. "Don't worry, my boy can do anything. He can solve this problem." She didn't ask him first. She just said he would do it. Preachers have a word for this. Actually, let me rephrase that. Children of preachers have a word for it. My boys will roll their eyes if you ever ask them, "Did your dad ever make you do stuff without clearing it with you?" Yes, that's called being voluntold. It's funny, when I typed it in, the word didn't even come up as misspelled on my computer. Was Mary voluntelling Jesus to do something? Well, I think maybe our real question here is not, why did Mary think he could do a miracle? I think we need to focus more on what actually happened. After all, Jesus did end up doing a miracle here. But what did that miracle mean? Especially, what did it mean to Mary? He did this miracle in a way that solved the problem, but he did it in a subtle way, and he did it subtly for a reason. Look at verse 6. Nearby stood six stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. These stone jars, think about how big a jar has to be to hold 30 gallons of fluid. They would be enormous and they would be incredibly heavy. Water is heavy, especially if they're full. Now, what did they use these big old jars for? It wasn't for drinking. It was for washing. It was for washing hands and feet when people came into the house. This was, again, not drinking water. The equivalent today would be for Jesus to have them fill up a bathtub and say, "I'm making drinks for everybody." Really? The point is, these jars were associated with cleaning, not with drinking. Now look at verse 7. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. This would mean they'd have to fill about 150 gallons worth of water. That was an excessive amount, and it would take a very long time. But it would also mean that when this was over, they'd have an unimaginable abundance of wine. 150 gallons of wine, that would be more than they started with or had ever bought in any store. Nobody can afford that much wine. Now look at verses 8 through 10. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so. And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you've saved the best until now." The master was the one in charge of the food and the drinks and the festivities. So if the party runs out of wine, this guy is going to be frantic. He's going to be panicking. And now he gets this new wine, and it's like better than what they had before. Now, he didn't know what happened. He only knew that now they have the really good stuff. For him, this was got to be an enormous relief. But obviously, this miracle is about more than wine. Look at verse 11 now. What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. All right, so what's the real purpose of this miracle? If the bridal party and the guest weren't supposed to see this, then who was supposed to see it? Remember, Jesus did this miracle privately. He did it away from everybody else. His disciples could see it. So who is this miracle for? Well, let's go back and ask our original question. Did Mary really think Jesus could perform a miracle? Was that what she was expecting? Probably not. We've argued that she wasn't expecting a miracle. She was just expecting her son to handle a difficult and potentially embarrassing problem. That's all she really wanted him to do. All right, fair enough. But now consider this question. What did she actually get? Is it fair to say that what Jesus did, performing a miracle that she probably wasn't anticipating, went beyond her expectations? This just reminds me of the final miracle that we see in Jesus. He's put to death and then he rises again. And who comes to the tomb to help bury his body better? Mary did, his mother. Her only hope that morning was maybe she can do a better job of burying her son. She can do a better job of helping her son be dead. What did she actually get? Did she actually get more than she was expecting or less? So is it fair to say that Jesus, by changing this water into wine, gave his mother more than she could have hoped for? Yes, he tends to do that. Now, we'll talk more about the significance of this miracle next time. Until then, have a great day.